Shalom. It's my movie review of the movie A Serious Man by the Coen brothers. Two Jewish guys, now middle-aged, who grew up in a Jewish suburb of Minneapolis, St. Louis Park, in the 50s and 60s. I hated the movie. I thought it presented Judaism in a terrible way. It looks like the guys are trying to get revenge about Hebrew school they didn't like. They have a very serious question that is raised in the movie, basically the book of Job. The book of Job in the Hebrew Bible is the story of a man who has everything lost. His family dies, his business lost, and his friends will come to him in the context of this book and say, you must have sinned, that's why you're suffering, because Job wants to know, why did this happen to me? At the end of the book, God said, this did not happen to you because you sinned. Well, Larry's life falls apart in this movie. He's a untenured physics professor. His wife says she wants to divorce him. His son is about to have a bar mitzvah, only cares about F-Troop and the TV reception. His daughter just wants to wash her hair and get a nose job. He's got a dysfunctional brother who does nothing but come up with creative mathematical and physics formulas, living in the house, who's got medical problems. The wife's lover wants to come meet with him, a slimy guy. He's got issues about facing tenure. This Korean student tries to bribe him because he flunked a test. I mean, he's attempted to be seduced by a neighbor, a female neighbor, and everything is going wrong in this guy's life, and he just wants to find out why. So he goes to three rabbis, young, middle-aged, and old, and these rabbis are nincompoops. I mean, I've read some reviews where they tried to make it like these rabbis something positive going on, but it was crazy. The young Scott has some nonsense about finding life in the backyard. I mean, you should find life in God, finding God in the parking lot. You should find God everywhere, but how does that address the guy's problem? And it was just nonsense. And then he goes to the middle-aged guy, this Nachner, who tells him some interesting story about a dentist finding some Hebrew words on the inside teeth of one of his patients, but evidently that's kind of a standard story. It had nothing to do with answering the questions that Larry had. And then he goes to see the old sage rabbi. It's kind of like the Lubavitcher Rebbe sitting in this fancy room, and the rabbi's too busy to see him. And the rabbis just come across as idiots. In fact, so one reviewer said that when the middle-aged rabbi was talking, somebody in the theaters walked out saying, he's an idiot. It just in the Hebrew school, it just portrays the whole thing as bizarre and horrible and nothing positive. I mean, Judaism is one of the oldest religions in the world, maybe the oldest, and it's got the most fantastic ideas about how to live one's life. Now, to the real question that Larry had, and at the end of the story, I don't want to give away the movie, but there's a very poignant ending, where first there's happy news and then there's really tragic news. And you're left with the question of why is this happening to him, and nobody has an answer in the movie. Well, first of all, we've got to say that those questions have been asked since the dawn of time, and it'd be very facile to say they're easy answers. Now, I urge you to see a couple of my other videos. First of all, number JewU 88, where I talk about this issue in relation to the Holocaust, God and the Holocaust. JewU 180, when I talk about the idea out there about the devil made me do it, which is not a Jewish idea. JewU 442, another attempt to discuss the theology of the Holocaust, and then JewU 121 about what God wants from us. 4 other videos that might help. But basically, the God at the end of the book of Job in the Bible doesn't say that you sinned because that you suffered because you sinned. No, that's not the answer there. The God says, but you can't understand, and that's not really a great answer either. I mean, the Talmud says you're not supposed to try and comfort someone, explain things to someone at the time of their suffering. Yeah, people want to know. I urge you to read the book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People by Rabbi Harold Kushner, where he attempts, it's a bestseller, and he attempts to answer that question. He had a son who died of the aging disease, and he said, why did this happen? And he concludes that God doesn't decide to target people for suffering. God stands with us in our time of sadness, as it says in the Psalms, and is with us, and we're supposed to cling to God and lean on God for strength and comfort to battle the sadness of life. But God doesn't decide who dies when of what, and doesn't decide Larry's going to get tenure or not. Now, there are some positive lessons in the story, too, that we should be inspired by. Perhaps the dysfunction of Larry's marriage was caused by Larry's inattention to his wife. You don't know. Did he make mistakes with his children by not participating with them more? I mean, he's contrasted with his Gentile neighbor who takes his son hunting, for good or for bad. So maybe there's some positive things, but I hope that the rabbis are viewed by the public and as having more wisdom than the rabbis in this story, and that we do definitely have challenges in the Jewish community. Hebrew school has not been the greatest invention in trying to inculcate commitment in Jewish youth. So maybe we can be inspired from that point of view, but really the movie was, in my opinion, a horrible reflection of the Jewish community, and completely without any sense of the grandeur and mystery and beauty and brilliance of the ideas of our Bible that we gave to the world, and the Talmud and the whole rabbinic system of the way in which you live your life. Lord God said you should love your neighbor as yourself. Micah said, what does God want from you but to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with your God? Our motto here at the synagogue is to learn Judaism, Talmud Torah, to live Judaism, Chai Bahem, and to love God and your fellow man. And in there, and as it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, another book about the questioning about the nature of life, it says, in the end of the matter is you should live your life with enjoyment, eat, drink, and be merry, but be in awe of God and observe the commandments. There's such great wisdom in those ideas, and certainly not in the movie A Serious Man.